In order to be happy, enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit, pursuit of your potential. It takes more than knowledge and desire to do or manifest what you want. It takes skill. The best thing you can do is ask for help. When you ask for help, you become an investment of others.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 to 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 to 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because chances are you are the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, David Meltzer, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Pursue consistently.
Time does not align with that thought, right? Time is a scarcity, right? If we think in terms of time, a man-made construct, by the way, we only have so much time. I'll be happy when I graduate. I'll be happy when I get my first job. I'll be happy when I make $100,000. I'll be happy when I make $1 million. I'll be happy when I make $100 million. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I get divorced. I'll be happy, right? It goes on and on. And guess what? When you attach your happiness to an outcome based on time, that time will never come. You need to, in order to be happy, enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit, pursuit of your potential. That's happiness. Enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential. And you got to know what your potential is. What do you want? Right? What is it? You want to be a sports journalist? You want to be a sports doctor? You want to be a sports lawyer? You want to be what is it you want to be? Administrator? You want to be an athlete? Whatever it is you want, you need to consistently, every day, persistently, without quit, enjoy that pursuit. Why consistency? I think consistency is the most important thing because consistency elevates your awareness. What's the lesson? Don't limit your point of entry. Consistently, persistently pursue your potential and enjoy it. That's all I did. I didn't let anything limit me. All I kept doing was thinking about what I wanted, why I wanted it, and how I was going to get it.
Rule number 2, live an inspired life.
Effective communications mean that you connect to other people emotionally so that you understand, but you actually are motivating, not manipulating. And the key is the second part of effective communication is I want them all to live inspired life. Consistently, persistently, in the pursuit of their potential. So whatever they believe in, I want them to live an inspired life so they can inspire others, hopefully to be happy.
Rule number 3, enjoy pursuing your potential.
When I was with you, one of the most interesting things is I'm like, oh, you must love to race. And you're like, no. You learned to do it. And people tell me all the time, you're so lucky. Every job you loved, every job you had. I said, who would love selling legal research? Right? Like, honestly, right? I learned to love everything.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. I learned to love what I do because I enjoy the pursuit of my potential.
It's a byproduct. Like, these are just like byproducts of getting to an end goal, really. They're just like a part of the path, you know?
Absolutely. And money is a catalyst for allowing you to enjoy the pursuit of your potential at even a greater level. You just have to shop for the right things. But with faith, it's even cooler because if we think, say, do, and believe every day, consistently and persistently, the universe is a bigger Amazon, right? I call it the field of intention.
Rule number 4, give.
Anything that makes us feel good, right? This positive is the reason you listen to certain things, surround yourself with the right people, the right idea. There's no better truth than love and giving, right? The truth vibrates the fastest, right? Of all thoughts, the truth vibrates the fastest. So giving vibrates the fastest. It's the truth, and it's going to make you feel good. And it's going to, my favorite thing about giving is simply mathematically. There's very few things that you can do. If I give, biochemicals are released in my brain, serotonin, as you know. So it makes me feel good. It's good for everything, right? It's good for giving you something makes you feel good. But here's the most powerful thing in Einstein sense. My favorite part of giving. Not only do you and I feel better when I give and I'm of service, but anyone that witnesses it Whether they witness it in person or when it's captured and perpetuated on the internet or on TV when you're watching or on a movie, when you see that giving of service, we tear up, we feel good, right? Think about it. That's the best thing ever. That's why it vibrates the fastest. What else can have that effect other than giving? Just witnessing it. Hey, this is Dave Meltzer, and I'm going to read my favorite paragraph of my friend Evan Carmichael's book, Built to Serve. Here's the secret. Dream big, act small. It is important to dream big. Your big dreams will motivate you. It'll inspire you to keep going when things get tough. It'll be a rallying call for your partners, suppliers, customers, and future employees. Keep a hold of your huge dream and then act small. Find the smallest possible way to get started, to take the first step, to get some momentum going. Dream big, but act small.
Rule number 5, don't limit your entry point.
Don't limit your point of entry. You can do whatever you want. The biggest mistake people make in trying to get a job in sports is, number one, they think sports is a job. It's not a job. It's an industry. Jobs are journalist, doctor, lawyer, social media, marketing, PR. Those are jobs. Those are skills, knowledge. Sports is an industry. If you keep your point of entry wide, you'll have multiple options of what you can do within sports. Right? It's amazing to me. 90% of the people limit their point of entry, and they've already limited their point of exit as well. I'm here to tell you, don't do it. All I want you to do is to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of your potential. I want you to think about what you love to do and then figure out how to monetize it. If you're going to call it a job, know that you want to make money. And it's okay to sacrifice. It's okay to sacrifice. It will come faster if you trust the universe and let go. It will come. Right? I have friends. My friend Mike Tannenbaum went to law school with me. He's the GM of the Jets. He's now executive vice president of the Dolphins. And he always says, oh, I was lucky. You know, I went to go work for the Saints and the collective bargaining agreement, and I was in the right place. No, that's not true. The truth is you had $100,000 worth of law loans like me, and you had Jewish parents like me. But yet you said and stood up to everyone that I'll make $600 a month working for the Saints, starting at the bottom, not limiting my point of entry. You weren't afraid. Brian Cashman, good friend of mine, interned for free for the New York Yankees. While everybody else was laughing, going, oh my God, he's working for free. Ended up assistant general manager and then general manager, one of the most sought after point of entry jobs in the world. If you truly want to work in sports, then figure out what you love to do and ask for help and attain the skills, the knowledge to go along with your desire.
Rule number 6, take action.
I'm fairly good at communicating this way, motivating people, inspiring people. But what I learned was there was a whole spectrum of communication. That the first thing that I really needed to do was communicate this way before I communicated that way. I needed to communicate to that which inspired me. And it's a mathematical equation. Why? It's because when I think about what I want to be happy, immediately just thinking about it, it becomes a possibility. And if I think about it in the right way, with different principles, and I can become inspired or in spirit, what I call connected to goodness. You can believe in God, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Joseph Smith, the 12th man if you're a Seahawk fan. I don't care what inspires you. But if you live your life in inspiration, your possibilities all become probabilities. I've given you a simple way to make a mathematical advantage in your life by thinking about things in a certain way and staying in spirit or staying inspired. Now, the interesting thing about that equation in communication is that in order to take my probabilities and make them my perspective or my reality, there's only one thing, once again, in my way. Me. And we need to take action. We need to take action in order to take your probabilities and make them your perspective or your reality.
Rule number 7, be interested in knowledge.
It takes more than knowledge and desire to do or manifest what you want. It takes skill. And I realized on that day that I probably didn't have the skills to be a professional football player. So, like every other nice Jewish boy who wants to make his mom proud, I decided I'd be a doctor. And I went to go visit my oldest brother who was doing his residency at UCLA, and he was in the hospital, and I visited him, and I said, oh man, I hate hospitals. My brother looked at me like, are you kidding me? You're gonna be a doctor and you hate hospitals? I go, yeah, I want to be a pediatrician like my uncle. I want, little kids and help them, have a nice neighborhood. I don't want to be in a hospital. And my brother gave me a great piece of advice about knowledge. You need to be more interested than interesting. And that really stuck with me because later on in life, when I ran Lee Steinberg, the most notable sports agency in the world, so many people would come up to me without any knowledge of what it's like to be a sports agent and tell me, Mr. McGuire, I want to be just like you. I'm thinking, oh my God, be more interested than interesting, please.
Rule number 8, be humble.
I think time and ego are what create resistance in our life. And the only thing that can overcome time and ego is humility. And that humility of illuminating who we are, being grateful for who we are, it all stems from being humble. You can't ask for help unless you're humble. You can't be of service unless you're humble. You can't be grateful unless you're humble. So the model is to be humble and be willing to expose and live as close to the truth consistently, persistently, enjoy it every day, your potential.
Rule number 9, have faith.
Your ideas will clothe itself. I don't understand why people think that if I plant a corn seed in the ground, we're never surprised when corn comes out. But when I plant a seed, an imagination in my brain,
Right.
why am I surprised with what you put faith in
Right.
comes out?
Right.
When I think about what I want, here's what happens. If
Especially
you don't
if-
think about and put faith in what you want, you're gonna be a copy. Right? Because what other people, and we put faith in what other people want for us, then we resent when we get it. But everybody else, when you ask them what you should have or do, all they're gonna do is copy.
Yeah.
Right? They're not gonna have any original thought for you. So you're gonna end up a copy if you put faith in what everybody else wants for you. It takes Danica Patrick to put faith in something completely different, and everyone says, no, that's impossible. If Jeff Bezos 25 years ago, I was sitting in his garage, told me he'd be worth $100 billion because he's starting an online bookstore, I'm an imaginative guy, but if he put faith in what I believed, he would not have $100 billion.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is ask for help.
I went to the Napoleon Hill Foundation and I said, I want to write a book like Think and Grow Rich. I want an evergreen book, which means it'll last for a long time, so future generations can see and learn from the dummy tax that I paid. Maybe something that would inspire me or them, like I was inspired by your book, Think and Grow Rich. Within 15 minutes of asking them for help, they gave me enough advice to write a bestseller, how to market it, distribute it, and have continually supported it. In fact, my mom did give me some good advice when I was young. She told me to read a book called Ben Franklin's autobiography. Anybody in here read it? Oh, look how, that's even more people that knew Maurice McDonald. I don't suggest you read it, it's really boring. So let me tell you. But what I learned from it, Ben Franklin said the best thing you can do is ask for help. When you ask for help, you become an investment of others. And not only will they help you if they're capable, but they'll actually continually help you because you're now an investment of theirs. So I became an investment of Napoleon Hill, and carrying through with what Ben Franklin taught, I've actually produced and am now in the movie Think and Grow Rich, just to show you what you can manifest.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy, but before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video, and what is your plan of action for the next week? The science says that when you just watch a video, you get motivated, you get inspired, you have a 35% chance of actually doing something and following through. That, Believe Nation, is not enough. 35% is not enough. We gotta do something. But when you get inspired by watching a video like this, and then you create a plan of action, your chances of following through jump to 91%. And when you commit publicly, like putting your comment down below with your plan, it jumps to 95%. That's what I want for you. I want you to take action. Your dreams are too important. Your life matters. Your mission has to happen. So, question of the day, your biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week, put it down in the comments below, and I'm gonna celebrate alongside with you.
I decided to be a lawyer. And that stuck with me. I went to law school and I studied oil and gas litigation. I thought I'd be rich being an oil and gas litigator. And when I graduated law school, I had two choices for jobs. It wasn't an NFL star. It was oil and gas litigator or to work in the internet as an entrepreneur. And of course, I asked my mom here, she's going to dread coming. She'll probably never come to another speech. But I asked my mom, I said, what should I do? I got this great litigation job, or should I work in the internet? And God bless my mom, who's always given me great advice. She told me, son, you definitely want to be a real lawyer, because this internet thing's a fad. Sorry, Mom. I learned a great lesson that day, though, that just because someone loves you, and unfortunately for me, my mom loves me so much, and I would lie in front of a bus for her. Just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. And it's true. We sometimes take those advice from people that don't have the knowledge of what they're talking about, and because they care so much about us, we then resent them for making decisions for us. And so I learned a very valuable lesson. I did decide to be an entrepreneur, and I realized that I needed that knowledge, skills, and desire to be an entrepreneur. Productivity is very simple. It's a measurement to me. I actually am productive 64 hours a day. And the reason that I'm productive 64 hours a day, I call it the power of 64, is that I focus in on having twice as many productive hours. So if most people work 8 productive hours, I work 16. I then focus in on the efficiencies of those hours to turn the 16 hours to twice as efficient to 32 hours of production. And then I look at the statistical success of what I'm doing to double that to create 64 hours of production. So when people ask me, how do you speak internationally, have your own radio show on CNBC, run a business, have a family of 4 kids, happy marriage, travel, do all of these things? Well, it's easy because I have 64 hours a day that I'm doing things. And it may sound silly, but I've actually changed my life by creating and playing with time. Let me give you some examples of what to do. I take everything that I do by the minute, hour, day, month, year, and I look at it and I create systems. It may sound a little OCD or anal retentive, but it actually works. So I took, for example, I brush my teeth, floss my teeth, and take Listerine every morning. And I took that and I started realizing that I would daze off and forget what tooth, and it took me an average of 6 minutes a day. But if I stayed focused in the morning and that small little thing that I do every day, I could save 4 minutes. 4 minutes times 7 days was 28 minutes a week, times 4 weeks in a month was 2 hours a month, times 12 months was 24 hours that I regained of productivity. All because I stay focused when I brush my teeth, floss my teeth, and take a shot of Listerine. Other things happen. I realize that time is compressed in the morning. So I'm not sure if you can, looking at me, realize it. I've spent hours of wasted time in the closet wondering what to wear. I sit there in the morning, no matter how late I am, like, or I've lost a sock, or I can't find the right belt. And so I learned this little trick that I had when I was 5 years old, is I lay out my clothes at night. But the challenge is, when I analyzed that, is I didn't want to take away from the time with my children at night. So I incorporated that in laying out my clothes. So I took my girls and I let them lay out my clothes. So they learned colors and sizes, geography, where things were bought, finance. I did all kinds of type of things. And now my 6-year-old son, because I travel a lot, he actually gets excited when I leave because he gets to lay out my clothes. And my oldest daughter, who's 17, walks by and tells me, oh, Daddy, I miss laying out your clothes with you. See how this universal energy has created itself into efficient, effective, statistically successful things in my life that have nothing to do with business. It's a matter of putting energy and creating the habits in performance.
Focusing on potential, not the problem. My big saying, embarrassment's always an ego-based emotion. So for me, whenever there's something that doesn't turn out the way it's supposed to, I'm always looking for the favor of the potential, and focusing on that really draws in. So it's going to all work out. You'll see, it'll work out better. The way that I see receiving is that people that are really successful, a lot of times they limit, themselves and not get to the next level, because to me, the void that you create is like a container, and the analogy I could use for you is that, all right, you have this container, let's say, just for example, it's a gallon container, and you live in this great world of overflow, and you feel as if you have more than enough and all that. But one of the things that I work on with real key executives and people that are very successful is extending out the limitations of your container, because the universe has like 5 gallons of water at all times to pour into, and you only have a gallon container. Although that container seems like to you it's full, you actually have 4 or 5 times the capacity to receive so much more. And so a lot of times, I try to expand people's energy and outlook and potential so that they're like, oh my gosh, I thought I had a lot before. Now it's double, triple, et cetera. And I see you as one of those people energetically, because you're grateful, and gratitude can work for you in the respect that it fills your container, but sometimes it also can limit you. When you're so grateful for what you have, you forget to keep on expanding your container. It's just a day trip up. I'll be home at my normal time because of the way that we're working on this. We'll do, private here, to an Uber, to the train, be at our first meeting by 10, between 10 and 2. Those 4 hours up here, we're going to do 14 meetings and have 7 coaching calls in the direction. So, and then I'll be home. I have my daughter's award ceremony tonight, and I'm going to make that. So people ask you how you get everything done. You can bend time by being a student of your calendar and efficient and understanding all the different modes of transportation, so you can be efficient, effective, and statistically successful. I'll tell you one thing, it's like walk off our car to get to the car, walk off the car to get to the plane, walk off the plane to get to the Uber, walk off the Uber to get to the train, walk off the train to get to the hotel. That's pretty damn fast. When I started being a student of my calendar, like literally every morning and every night, I look at every appointment and see if it falls into 4 categories. In-person, email, phone, or social media. I look and see, okay, what platform is this occurring on? And so I look and I'll say, okay, I'm meeting Clothe today. What is it, my objective with Clothe? I want to make sure he knows that I know I'm going to be in Vallejo, and then also see who else is going to be there so I can integrate content, so I can help promote him, help CJ, help you. Who else is going to be there for you to meet? I'm like, okay, good. Scott's going to be there, and the coaches list guy's going to be there at the same time. And I know that now I'm raising value for you. This is for me a raise of awareness. It's like getting deep. I open up and make sure all my notes are right in every single item in my calendar, but it just provides opportunity, because I believe if I can attract one a day, person, email, phone, and social media, if I can attract one opportunity, to me an opportunity is someone I can provide value to, because I know the more people I provide value to, the more comes to me, because I ask big. But if I can do each of those, that's 28 opportunities a week, 112 in a month. My life changes with 112 opportunities. And then if I get people and motivate them to do the same thing that work for me, I got 50 people times, right? It's 200 a day.
Are you strategic with your calendar?
Absolutely.
As well?
Yeah, in the travel. Yeah, that comes in the travel. It comes into the business meetings, the 520 rule. I don't know if you remember me, Mark. I'm Dave Meltzer.
So when you say beliefs, your belief is really just opening yourself up to the opportunity, the 10 gallon, going to the 10 gallon container.
Concentrating on your potential, not your problems. Don't look at the penny right here and go, there is no sun. Just the penny's, it's tiny. It's a tiny thing compared to the potential, right? Mm-hmm. And so I see things differently. Doesn't mean I don't live in this universe either, because I still think, say, and do the right things, which is this level. A lot of people that just look way out into potential, they don't wake up at 4 a.m. They don't create effective habits, right? They're not efficient, effective, and statistic. They don't know the power of 64. They aren't a student in your calendar. Oh, the second piece of advice, right before we met Mark,
So student your calendar, it'll change your life. I swear to God, it'll create that focus and awareness. The second thing is, I believe in this philosophy of do it now, which is kind of realms on this whole congregate, like, hey, can you introduce me right now? Right. Immediately, when anything's coming in my life, I ask myself, can I do it now? So, hey, can you refer this? Yeah, hold on. Right, I'll make phone calls. You've been in meetings with me. It's like almost ADD, but it's not. It's just, if you don't, the minute, talk about saving time. Anything you can do now, you at least save twice as much time. The minute you don't do something now, it'll take you minimum twice as much time to do it. Plus you gotta remember it, plus you could become statistically unsuccessful, exponentially unsuccessful the longer you wait on it. So I actually have now on my do it now strategy, not only do things now, but I have a folder which is called do it now. So it's things that I would do now if I was capable of, something that's that important. So I immediately, after I'm doing it now and doing this, I'll go to my do it now folder so I won't forget.
And knock it out.
And those are the important things. So I have this system of doing it now, which only saves me time and makes me more statistically successful.
You went to Tulane Law School.
Yes, sir.
And you graduate there, and within 9 months, tell them what happened to you. Because I want you all to hear the ups and downs of real life business and real life from one of the most successful people in the country. So what happens out of law school?
So out of law school, I have two choices for jobs, and it's a recession.
Right.
One was to be a real lawyer, oil and gas litigator, big money. All I wanted to do is be rich, is why I went to law school. And then the second was to work in the internet.
Okay.
And I got offered a job to sell legal research online by West Publishing, big legal publisher. And so I go to my mom, because you'll appreciate this. I go to my mom, hey, what should I do, Mom? My big advisor, I grew up with a single mom, 6 kids. Wow. And she, without blinking, is like, you need to be a real lawyer, because this internet thing is a fad. So she calls the internet a fad, and I always say, because I like to teach lessons, biggest lesson of my life was just because somebody loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice.
Amen.
And I see so many people, entrepreneurs, in relationships, they ask for advice for people that don't know anything. My mom's a second grade teacher.
Right.
What does she know about
beautiful
technology?
soul, but not a technology expert.
No, and if I would have followed, it would have, I think, slowed down, or at least not allowed me to have the acceleration I had. So I took the technology job. Right. Single, money hungry, in a sales job in the internet. And I made a fortune.
So be very careful, just because you love them or they love you, of thinking they have some expertise in an area that you don't, right? They probably don't. And so oftentimes we take advice from the wrong person, derails our dreams. So that's lesson one.
One more thing too, we end up resenting them. Which is worse. So all the people that love us most, we end up resenting them because they gave us bad advice. And meanwhile, we should be accountable because we asked the second grade teacher for internet advice. And that's the worst part. My whole thing was first football, and I worked really, really hard. Got a scholarship to college, played football in college. Freshman year, first game, I got ran over by Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare. I decided, damn, I better start studying.
First game.
First game. Very first game. I was the bullet on the kickoff team against Azusa Pacific. Very first game, freshman year, 147 pounds, lightning fast. And I flew down there and I hit that guy on his thighs as hard as I could, airborne straight back, and he literally stepped on me. And it was a different ball game. I said, wow. I thought I was really good. Best on my team in high school, even though I was small. And sure enough, those dreams died. And the next entrepreneurial thing was, okay, how can I be rich? Well, back then, doctors were rich. And so I thought I'd be a physician. I go over and visit my brother. He was at the hospital, and he was doing his residency, brilliant brother of mine. And I said, man, I hate hospitals.
Just the energy is just the energy.
I'm an empathetic. Right. What that means is I feel things. That's why I cry a lot. Gary Vee's a friend of mine and a mentor, and I joke around. Gary, you swear to get people motivated and connect to you emotionally. Me, I cry.
Right.
I'm a 50-year-old crybaby, and I'll probably cry 3 times in this interview.
Let's do it.
I've already got choked up, but I went there. I told my brother I hated hospitals. He gave me the best piece of advice, and people see this on the internet. You probably have heard it, right? He looked at me. He goes, "Be more interested than interesting." Right? Like, I was 18 years old. I had no idea what it's like to be a doctor, and that really sticks because as an entrepreneur, so many people think they have a dream, and they haven't been more interested than interesting. I can't tell you, when I ran Lee Steinberg, we'll get there, but CEO of the most notable sports agency in the world, right? Jerry Maguire, Any Given Sunday, For the Love of the Game, Arliss, so many kids, 18 years old,
oh, Mr. Meltzer, I want to be just like you. I want to be a sports agent. And I think to myself, it's like idiot over here at 18 saying I want to be a doctor, but I hate hospitals.
Right, yeah.
Right? They may hate everything it takes to be a sports agent, but they're not more interested than interested. What I started doing is I realized that there's only two things my mom really wanted from me. One was to know that I loved her, and two, appreciated her. That's my mother. And I got that by asking her questions. And so what I decided to do to change our relationship was to make sure every day. So I have this philosophy of doing stuff every day, give it a minimum amount of minutes. So I gave my mom a minimum of 1 minute a day to make sure that she loves and appreciates me. And meaning I would call, text, or email her and simply sometimes say, hey, Mom, I was just thinking about you. I got back from China today, and I just wanted you to know that I totally love you and appreciate you. I live this extraordinary life, and I'm so grateful. You know, I'm one of 6 and all the things. Then I work through it and say to myself, why do I still feel this way? Why do I feel inferior to my siblings just because they all went to the Ivy Leagues and none of them got a B? Why? I'm 50 years old. I have my own beautiful family. Why do I have this energy about me that I literally know? It's not easy for people to say the truth, that I know. And here's the best thing about it. My brothers are they're super accelerated, like humans. They're amazing, right? Harvard, summa cum laude, amazing. And what's funny is, my brother that went to Harvard, who's extremely enlightened, he's a rabbi now. You know, I said to him, hey man, I'm working on feeling good around you. And he was like pale. He goes, that's funny because I was thinking the same thing about you. You know, like that in fear. And I go, and I hope you take it as a compliment because I just think the world of you and I want you to think the world of me. Those type of effective communications can open up and allow you to work through why you feel certain ways because it transcends. If you feel that way with your siblings or your parents, it's worse for people you just met. You're trying to prove yourself. One of the energies I carry that ruined me was I had an energy that I was stupid. And I projected it that I was smarter than everyone else. Because I carried a core energy because of my siblings and the way I was raised and my grandma telling me only stupid people get bored, smart people think of things to do, that I literally projected this insecurity that caused me to oversell, back-end sell, lie, manipulate, and not feel good about myself. No matter how much I had, I still needed more. And it was for myself to prove that I was smart enough. In a lily pond, a lily doubles its growth every day. And so if I was going to tell you this pond right here has 1 lily in it, and it will take 30 days for the lilies to cover the entire pond, what day would the lilies cover half the pond? Now, most people, the first thought that you have is 15 days. No, that's the problem. That's why you have questions like, I can't find my niche, I don't know my purpose, I don't know my why. It's because in 30 days, on day 29 is when the lily pond is halfway covered. The next day, it'll be fully covered. The scary thing is on day 28, 2 days, it's only a quarter covered. Only a quarter covered 2 days before. So you're working day 1 through 28, not seeing hardly any increase, any revelation of niche or experience or spectrum. You've got to have faith. You've got to have faith in what you're doing by enjoying, find the light, the love, and the lessons in what you're doing and be able to do it every single day so you get the doubling effect of the lilies so that, yes, you get to day number 28 and day number 29 and especially day number 30. And guess what's so fun about that? In day 31, you need 2 ponds. And in day 32, you need 4 ponds. My dream is to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. That's a pretty big dream. People laughed at me. And when I started, I had the same questions. How am I actually going to do this, right? I know the impact of it, and I know, that it would change the world. But now then I said, oh my God, am I saying I can change the whole world, empowering over 1 billion people to create a collective consciousness? And then I started thinking about it and saying, well, what do I need to do to get started? You know what I need to do? I need to empower one person to be happy. Then I said to myself, okay, can I teach that one person to teach somebody else? Right? Because now I get that faith going, the faith of what I want. Then I say to myself, can I do it one more time? Can I teach one person to teach one person to teach one? Empowering one person to empower one person to empower one person took me years. But once I got there, now I connected the dots backwards and said, I just got to do that 1,000 more times. I freed myself into moments of doubt, not minutes, not days, not weeks, not months, not years. I only have moments of doubts now, but you got to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit. Figure out the math of what you want, and let's go inch by inch. Let's scale it out with the calculator of faith, exponentially grow into the expansive being that you are. Everybody out there, you can't out ask it, out dream it, out believe it, out abundance it. Don't doubt it. You can't do it. So stick to the math and do the best that you can to get where you want to be. I look at life with a two-pronged lens, productivity and accessibility. How productive am I? How much value can I provide all day long? And two, how accessible am I to others? And how can I access that which inspires me? Data, help, whatever it is. And if you look at life with productivity and accessibility, right, you can manifest whatever you want. When you learn that ego and time are constructs, they're man-made things, they're constructs. Time has nothing to me. So for me, when I have books, podcasts, speeches, I have a media company, I have a marketing company, all the things, to me, they're not separate businesses. It's simply my job is to put forth action to help other people and value, and then have as many silos, because beyond the businesses I sit on 40 some boards. Beyond that, I have probably 200 channel partnership agreements where I make referral money because I ask you, how can I be of service? And I want to monetize it. So if you tell me, man, I'm looking for a $10 million house, I got a channel partnership with Ben Anderson next door that he gives me a commission for bringing you there. So we can do your $10 million mortgage. Then I got another one for the realtor that's going to give you, and they're all best of breed guys. So I'm doing you a service.
I saw The Secret a year ago. I was not someone who believed in I didn't understand the ability to manifest. I had never heard conceptually about that. So for me, I was just exposed to this a year ago, and I thought there's nothing I can lose here by writing down what I'd like to manifest and then taking it to the next level and then trace it and then speak it into existence. And opening your mind to learn about all these things has a domino effect. Wouldn't you agree that you start finding yourself having contact with other people who are masters in this or experts in this?
Well, that's because there's a mathematical formula to this that I try to break things down to a really simplistic level. So what we pay attention to, and then we give it intention, creates the coincidences in our lives. And coinciding is a mathematical term to me. It's not an accident. It's two things that are perfectly coming together at a perfect time, the right way at a perfect time. So I'm very cognizant of what I pay attention to and the intention I give it so that I get the coincidences that I want in my life. And it really works as a mathematical equation. And I make it a consistent, persistent practice to pay attention to the right things. Now, here's where it takes another level for me is I thought about faith, I'm going to put faith in this. And that got really confusing because I aggregated what I think, say, do, and believe. And I even started looking at the unconscious competencies, my genetics of personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions, and how all these things were my faith. No religious context at all. Then I met a guy who wrote Atomic Habits, James Clear, and he talked about voting. And I started saying, faith is like voting. I'm just going to vote for what I want. And my biggest mistakes in my life, I'm always voting for what other people want for me. And then I'm pissed off when I get it. And I'm resentful when I get it. And I'm just very hard now. I know what I'm voting for, and I know it's going to be elected into my life. And so I keep voting for what I want. And if my mind tells me something that I don't want, I don't vote for it. And I see so many people voting for what they don't want and then really upset or resentful or offended when they get it, or even surprised. And so I think all of these things combined to voting is what I'm paying attention to. The intention's the action, right? So it's not just paying attention and saying, I want this or thinking about it. It's actually get off your butt. Don't sit at home high on your mom's couch sick. Do something about it. Be efficient, effective, productive, and accessible. We were talking earlier, I heard you, Dave doesn't like busy. No, I hate busy. Busy means unaccessible. I'm active. I have activity I get paid for, activity that I don't get paid for. I'm productive and accessible. I provide value, and I'm accessible to what I want and accessible to others.
Well, I want to talk to you about the art of the pitch. It happens so often that when you're meeting an investor, they're busy, they don't have a lot of time. What do you need to hear in 60 seconds to say, yeah, I want to learn more. I want to hear more from you. That's an interesting concept. What do you need to hear in a great pitch?
Yeah, so there's two things two schools of thought and two ways to go. One is simply stimulate interest, right? You could leave the cliffhanger, no real details, but just make it so stimulating that we had to open the doors, right? Like, I don't know how much money you're looking for. I don't know what percentage of the company I'm going to get. I have no idea the ROI side of it, but it was just so intriguing. Like, I could, do this with this, and the idea itself is so stimulating. In 60 seconds, that's what you want to do. You want to stimulate someone with a really good idea. Or the other school is the ROI side. Make a clear and compelling business case that, look, this is what I'm looking for. This is how much you're going to get for it. And this is how I make money, or I've been making money. And you see any reason why you wouldn't want to open these doors. Those are the two ways to do an elevator pitch. You only have 60 seconds. You need to make it clear, concise, but in the end, you're either stimulated by, wow, this is really interesting, I got to hear more, or wow, this is really interesting because I can make a shoot load of money.
I like it. Now, the first question I had for you in watching the episode, so you guys can go check it out. The first episode's up. It's a great episode. It's about 16, 17 minutes long, so it doesn't take you a long time to consume. Is how do you know how much to ask for and how to value your company? Because you have one person on and you're like, you're not asking for enough money. You need millions to get this thing going. And then you have another person on who you're saying, like, you're giving up too much of the company. It should be, right? And so, like, if you make the wrong decision there, you could potentially really screw yourself over as an entrepreneur. So how do you decide how much to ask for and how much your company is worth going into these kinds of pitches?
That's a really difficult thing, and that's where situational knowledge comes in. I believe there's only one way to figure that out as an entrepreneur, because normally entrepreneurs, unless they have a lot of exits, they have no experience at that. So the only way to do it is to ask for help. And what I find is the biggest mistake with these entrepreneurs, and the reason and purpose of the show is actually to give help. I like to think that we're kind of like Shark Tank with soul. We're not there fighting against each other. We're a team trying to figure out if we're all going to invest together. We actually have a backup clause with Indiegogo. If we don't invest in you, you actually are featured on Indiegogo and the public can be the judge. But with the specific part about like how much to ask for, you need to go ask people that have experience for help, because equity sometimes more important than the actual business itself.
I like it. Now we're getting some, I maybe should have done this at the beginning, but we're getting a question. What is an elevator pitch? So for the people who aren't familiar with that concept, I'm from the venture capital world too, but quickly, in your words, what is an elevator pitch?
Elevator pitch, the term comes from really the old days of salesmen that you would practice. All the solution selling, spin selling, all the great Zig Ziglars of the world would tell you that you need to be able to pitch in 60 seconds or in an elevator, because you never know when you meet a prospect, and you need to have your elevator pitch down to get somebody interested in buying what you're selling.
Right. The idea is like you get on the top floor of a building with an investor. They happen to walk in the elevator with you, and you've got to catch their attention by the time you hit the ground floor. That's
right.
Initially where it came from. Yeah.
60 floors in 60 seconds. So it's really cool. The elevator goes up 60 floors, and that's all you get. And the doors either open or they don't.
It's such a great when I first saw it, I watched it earlier today. I think that's a great concept. I love it. Rocky is ready to ask. So guys, you have questions for Dave, leave them in the comments here. We'll bring them up. Rocky's asking, if you only have an idea, how do you pitch that? You have the skills, but you don't have the money. What advice do you have for somebody who's kind of just getting started with an idea versus already having some progress?
Well, the first definition is you need to understand an idea is an innovation. And the idea of an innovation and an innovator is someone that can take their idea and make it real. That's different than an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur takes their own or somebody else's innovation and figures out how to monetize it. And so those are two different steps. So if you have an idea, you need to now first make that idea real, or show the clear path of how you're going to make the idea real, and then have a team or help, or yourself if you do, on the second component. How do I take that now real idea and monetize it or materialize it? Because the idea of taking in money is that it's a simple thing. If I asked you, Evan, hey, I'm going to send you $100, will you send me 20? Invariably, 99.9% of the people are going to say yes. The other 0.1 is going to say, what's the catch? But I break down every pitch into that format. That am I providing more value than I'm asking for? And is it 100% clear and convincing, so I can ask that closing question of mine. Can you see any reason you want to move forward?
And then when you're pitching an investor, there has to be room for them to make money. They have to see a way for them to be able to exit. Not necessarily every business should have an investor with them just because the scale isn't there, the growth isn't there. So how do I know if I'm an entrepreneur getting started, is this a business that I should be going out and getting investors for or not?
You need to go talk to investors, right? So you need to start pitching. You need to get feedback. It's an evolutionary, not a revolutionary process, and there's a learning curve involved. And so what you want to do is pick the right starting investor to start pitching to, and you can start with your own narrow. Now, I also believe that all entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs with new business should first form an advisory board. They should have some sort of incentivized equity plan for the advisory board, and you pick your advisory board with the situational knowledge or relationship capital that you're looking for. So what I always do is, if you have an idea or an innovation or a business, go get 5 people and give them one specific action item of why you're putting them on the advisory board. Let them earn some options or warrants or interest in your company, become an investment of your advisory board, and then exponentially accelerate your success by leveraging the help of your advisors.
So when you give that advice and then people say, well, I don't know anybody, I don't know who to ask to join my board, nobody in my family is an entrepreneur, I don't have the connections. What do you then recommend as a result?
Great question, because I have a very specific strategy that I utilize. What I do is I use Google or some sort of access, and I find the one person I think that could help me, and I look to see what they're involved with. I look to see where they went to school, graduate school. Most of all, I look to see what charities or community involvement they have. And then I actually join that group, that charity, and I offer my help, knowing that I will organically be of service to something that's important of that person. And I actually allow the universe to attract that person to me, to give me the opportunity that's in the right energy, the right format. And statistically, I'm so successful. And that's how I became what you called a philanthropist. I'm actually a philanthropimp. I pimp out more celebrities, athletes, and rich people to get money for charity. But okay. That's how I got involved with charities, is I started realizing, wow, if I put my first step forward and donate my time, money, and energy to something that's important to this person, invariably, they're going to want to help me too. And that's how I would get my first advisor on my board. Then ask them, who else would you like or think I should have on the board of advisors? And all you need is one person to start, and you'll have 25 board of advisors.
Got it. And so part of that lesson too is, you don't need to have a lot of money to go and help a charity. Just giving your time. As an entrepreneur, you have some expertise. If you're a programmer, you can help with their website. If you're a designer, you can create stuff for them. Lend your expertise. And if you have money, that's great. But if you don't, just your time can be really helpful.
Yeah, it changed my life. As you know, my life as a true entrepreneur, every average millionaire in America has gone bankrupt twice. I lost everything, in 2008. The genius that I was, living my life the wrong way, wrong principles. But the first thing that I did is, concussions were real important to me. I'm in the sports world, representing, with Lee Steinberg, Warren Moon, Steve Young, Troy Aikman, guys that concussions really affected. So what I did is I wanted to meet guys like Steve Wynn. I wanted to help out. So I saw that they had Keep a Memory Alive Foundation. I went to Vegas, volunteered my time for Larry Rouveau from Southern Wine and Spirits. And within a week, I was back on my feet from all the opportunities just from volunteering, and bringing celebrities, doing what I could do, whatever I could do for them. They all wanted to help me.
I love it. Well, we're getting tons of great feedback in the comments. People saying, thank you so much. This is so useful right now. So it's great. I want to get to a couple more questions. The most common question that's coming up over and over again is around, what is the best pitch you've heard and why was it so good? What lessons can we learn?
Hands down, and I can't spoil it on the show, but there is a young woman that at 20 years old adopted a 12 and a 13-year-old because nobody else would help these 2 kids.
Wow.
And so what she did is realize that people buy on emotion for logical reasons. So she took her personal energy and experience and tied it into a business, and all of us were in love with her. She sold herself And all of the judges simply were in the format of, oh my gosh, I don't care what idea or what business this woman has. She already quickly explained that she had, since she did that, 2 different exits of other businesses. This is her 3rd venture. I mean, she was so clear and her energy was so high. You were so attracted to her. It just felt confident that she could take a paperclip and make millions of dollars somehow. And we were all just like, okay, whatever you want, here's our money. It was awesome.
I love it. And now the first episode is up. When did it go up? It was this week, right? It's new.
Yesterday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Got it. So went up yesterday. I watched it this morning. How many episodes are there, and how often is it coming out?
So there's 12 episodes, all done, and comes out every Wednesday, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern time on the Entrepreneur Network and the variety of all the other digital, from Amazon to YouTube, etc. Very accessible, getting great reviews. As you know, Evan, is pretty unique. Took the same idea that people have been doing and turned it into a really unique format. So we'd love, everyone's feedback and participation. The cool thing is you be the judge on our show. If you don't agree with me and the rest of my judges, and we have some cool celebrity judges, we fish them in. But the cool thing is, go on Indiegogo and prove us wrong. If I'm there saying there's no market for this, and all of a sudden the cool thing is our judges, we get to go circle back and we can reinvest if we're wrong.
I love that you have Indiegogo campaigns for everybody, so the audience can go vote as well. Cool. And again, guys, we have the link in the description. Go check it out if you want to watch the first episode. Next question coming in from Brandon. For you personally, how much of the success of the pitch is based on polish versus concept? He has the concept and is practicing, but he has nerves. He gets nervous when he's presenting. So how much is it the concept versus the polished presentation?
So there is a balance there. And I would say that it's almost 60 for the content, 40 for the polish. We had, one that the content was so good, but he was reading from cards and so nervous. And we almost didn't open the doors because he was reading from cards and he was so nervous. I would say you're better off reading from cards and being nervous if you have good content, because there were some really great entrepreneurs, because now that they're on Indiegogo, we missed some big deals because they were so nervous they couldn't get their point across. And I think you saw that on the first episode. People were like, oh, I didn't even know what the business was about. So you're better off if you can't get it out to at least let us know what the business is about. You'll give yourself at least a 60% chance of getting on.
Got it. And also, like, you guys are pretty, it's not Shark Tank where you got Kevin O'Leary like telling you that you suck and you're gonna get swatted out of the sky. Like it's still a pretty, you're giving good feedback. It's not all softball, but it's like you said, it's like Shark Tank with soul. Like you actually care about these guys. You want to see them be successful.
Yeah, we'll tell you if your pitch sucked, but we're gonna then tell you how to make your pitch better. We're going to explain to you some resources where to go, funds and Indiegogo, or just techniques that we feel. And we have some really seasoned veterans, or not only investors, but great business people from, Sprint and Denny's and Tap Out and Asian Box, people that have done it on their own. So I really like the mentorship portion of the show.
I think it's also a more realistic scenario of what to expect in the world of angel investing. Like me being an angel myself and connecting with other angels, most angels are not going to be the Kevin O'Leary yell at your face and tell you how much you suck. It makes for great TV, but I think what you're doing is more kind of realistic of what to expect when you're dealing with an angel investor.
Yeah, and I think that's, Entrepreneur, to give them credit, that was why they asked me to be a key judge, because I kind of have that spiritual, like you. I'm an empowerment person, right? I'm here not only to invest in you, but I want you to accelerate and to help people, because we can help our communities by creating great entrepreneurs. And Entrepreneur Magazine provides so many resources. Here's just really to them another resource to help empower entrepreneurs.
Got it. Anthony is writing in, who are some investors that you have learned from and have helped you?
Oh, great question. So Steve Wynn was one for me that has been a great mentor. Just understanding the relationship and the energy to money, the transparency of how to get to the point. I used to be an overseller, a back-end seller, even you could say, I hate to say this, but a bullshit, and I thought that I was fooling everybody. And Steve Wynn taught me I'd rather people hate you for who you are than love you for who you're not. Because if it's not there yet, they're going to let you know. And in the back end, the truth always comes out. So especially as an entrepreneur, just tell the truth, as painful as it may be, because they may have a solution and they're going to, most of all, trust you and help you beyond in the back end, having to back end sell someone because you oversold them.
Yeah. A lot of questions coming in just around other questions that are typically asked. Like what are the most common questions that you will ask entrepreneurs or expect them to answer? Maybe not in the pitch, but then afterwards as well. What do you want to hear and know?
First of all, the hardest thing for people to articulate is how much money do you want and why? And I'm totally surprised because you brought this up earlier. How do they know what to ask for? 90%. We had 90 different pitches over the 12 episodes. Wow. 90% of those didn't really know what they wanted and what they were willing to give up.
Wow.
How can I make an economic decision if you don't know what you're offering? Now, I'll gauge it. And you see on the show, some people were like, you know what? We're not going to take that. It would hurt you. We'd never be able to raise money if we did that. It's called a down round. You know, we don't want to take your initial investors and put them in a worse position. So we educate. But I was amazed. I just want to know, look, here's what we're looking for. Here's what you get. And here's what we do. And this is what we expect the outcome to be. Those 4 components, if you can articulate that to me, I can evaluate, well, maybe you don't have it quite right, but because of the relationship capital I have, or my partners, or the situational knowledge I have, or my partners, you know what? I can adjust or evolve your business, and we can make a fortune or create abundance together. So those 4 components are what I think you need to really hit home.
It seems crazy that 90% of the people would come on the show and not know exactly how much they want to give up and how much they're worth. I mean, you just see me do some research. You know, you know a little bit more than the average entrepreneur because you're going to go pitch, but they still don't. So it just speaks to the kind of financial IQ, I guess, of most entrepreneurs out there. What do you, I mean, so watching the show is a great education resource for people. What do you recommend for people to kind of up their investment or financial IQ so that, you know, you guys are being the nice ones and telling them, hey, listen, like you're giving away too much. They may not get that deal when they go and talk to another angel. So what advice would you give for people to increase their IQ in that area?
2 things. One's a shameless plug layup that you gave me. Of course, you should go to Entrepreneur Magazine at entrepreneur.com. They got a ton of great stuff on there to read about. And, you know, some of my associates and mentors like Gary Vee and Tom Ferriss, you know, those guys give great advice. David Corbin is on there this week. You know, just great guys that give great advice. But I have a secret that really helped me. And I go to trade shows, and because there's hundreds of companies there, right? And I go there and I ask questions. I go and I want to understand their business model, and I start understanding. And if I ask equity questions too, because a lot of those companies are looking for money, I start getting a really good feel on how that compares to what I'm doing. So the more experience I have of looking at companies, kind of it's a vacuum of what you do, right? As an angel, you're a deal flow guy. You're like me. I see deals every day. But you can manufacture that by going to a trade show, and plus you're building your relationship capital, channel partners, associates, all types of, even investors you can find. So going to trade shows is my second piece of advice. But of course, use Entrepreneur and entrepreneur.com.
Next question is interesting. Just talking about timing. How do you know when it's the right time to go and pitch? It's not too soon. It's not too late. How do you determine like now's the time to go?
Yeah, so there's a bigger question behind that, right? How do I know when to raise money, right? It's more than just where to pitch. That's the bigger question for most entrepreneurs is, gosh, should I give up? So here's my litmus test of making money. If at all possible, don't raise any money if you're not making money, right? If you're not, now some ideas are so big, you have to have the R&D, et cetera, but most businesses get to a point where you have a clear path to revenue, and then see if you can just materialize a true valuation. Because if you give up too much too early, it will, you know, I have so many different boards that I've sat on, and I had a helmet company called Zenith, and the CEO is a Harvard guy, great genius, innovator for concussion helmets, $40 million raise, Evan. He ended up ousted from the company with no equity after it finally got going. So really try to determine, try to make as much, because you don't want to spend 80% of your time raising money. If you could spend 80% of your time making money, and then when it comes time to scale, ask for the money.
I love it. And I'm sure you see this too, Dave. You know, most of the business concepts that come across the plates of angels, it's just a concept. There's no revenue. So even if you have one sale, it's way better than 0 sales. Like that 0 to 1, not a million, just one sale, showing that somebody will actually spend dollars on what you have, puts you already in a new league. And yes, you need money to expand and grow, but just showing that somebody's willing to pay you for what you have already makes it. I mean, what do you think about that? Are you
I agree. 2 things I'm looking for, and I'm okay with pilots, paid pilots. You don't have to make a lot, but if you could get the bigger customer to do a paid pilot, I'm all over that. Or just have, like you said, one customer that you can scale and say, wow, this is how it's working. And there's 1,000 or 1,000,000 or 10 million or 1 billion other people just like this customer. That's why we're going to make money. But yeah, there's a million great ideas out there. It's the guy who knows how to monetize it. And I'm looking for that monetization or materialization piece.
Next question. This guy's really excited. Hey, David, all caps with 3 exclamation marks. Hey, David, what is something you wish you knew when you were 21?
Oh, that's an easy question for me. 2 words: radical humility. I wish somebody would have taught me the ability that I didn't know, and it's the biggest problem I have with my interns and young associates in my business. You don't know what you don't know, so feel good about asking for help. Asking for help is giving a gift to people like me. You know, when you ask for help, you become an investment of that person. And then don't forget, like you said earlier, just because you don't have a lot of money or experience doesn't mean you can't help that person. So if someone would have told me, David, be radically humble, ask for help, and then provide help to others. And that's my signature teaching tool here is, hey, ask for help and then always follow up with, what can I do for you?
I love that. I wish I learned that lesson when I was younger. I was struggling a lot in my very first business when I was 19, and I was too afraid to ask for help. I would tell my friends, yeah, I'm crushing it. I'm entrepreneur lifestyle. I'm just working really hard. Meanwhile, like I'm barely making any money and can't afford to go out to beer and pizza with them. And so it just makes things a lot easier if you're upfront and honest. David is asking the importance of a business plan. How much do you look at it? How much do you care about it? How much to invest time into making one?
So executive summary to me, especially early on, is much more important than a business plan. A business plan is what you perceive to be your future, and it's an appendix, I think, to that. You have the elevator pitch first, and then an executive summary. And so those are the 2 things that are most critical to me, because if you don't stimulate interest, you'll never be able to transition interest or share a vision, which is what the business plan is for. And so make sure you have the best executive summary and elevator pitch that you can have.
Right. And the executive summary is the 1 to 3 pages at the beginning of a business plan. We used to say, does it pass the grandmother test? And that like your grandmother can understand it, because a lot of times people talk in so much technical jargon that to them it makes sense, but to an outsider it doesn't make any sense. Are there any key things you look for in that executive summary?
Yeah, so number 1, I look for the team side of it, because I invest in people, not products. I think that an A team can kill it with a B product every day of the week. I'm looking for a clear path to revenue. So like you said, 1 customer or a pilot, something like that. I am looking to see what you want. How much money, what am I going to get? What's the ROI that you perceive? And then what I like a little bit different, and it comes in that team side, is I still think that people miss the most important part. And it's that lesson that people buy on emotion for logical reasons. And so if somehow you can give a little B-roll, a little background of emotionally, not only why you created the company, but why people will be compelled to participate in your company emotionally, either as a customer or as an investor, you're going to win me over. And so don't forget the emotional side, because a lot of entrepreneurs, almost everyone, have a really great story of why they're creating the business, why there's a need out there. And it stems from all kinds of great things that people will not be able to resist, that emotional thing. You buy on emotion for logical reasons.
I love it. Next up, Beverly. I think you can relate to this one really well, Dave. can I relate this information to a nonprofit? And I know you do a ton of nonprofit stuff, Pimp now. Remember that one, Pimp. So how does the art of the pitch relate to a nonprofit?
100%, except for I believe that you have an easier job to raise money to help others than it is to help your company. And so that's why I actually try to always combine everything. Our motto, Warren Moon, the Hall of Fame quarterback's my business partner, I had a really long mission statement. And he went through it. It was like leverage, relationship, capital, situational knowledge, blah, blah, blah. Really JD MBA-like. Yeah. But in the end, Warren said, oh, so Dave, you want to make money, help people, and have fun? I said, yeah. He goes, okay, that'll be our mission statement, right? And the tie-in was, we will not do any business without some sort of charitable effort, cause, or purpose tied to it, something about social change. And I wrote a book called Compassionate Capitalism based off of this component. So use the exact same methodology that you would for raising money for a company that you would for raising money for a cause. I just think it's a lot easier because of that emotional attachment, as I spoke of earlier.
Got it. And you mentioned Warren Moon, your business partner. He's on the show. At least he's on the first episode. There's some funny moments on there. So you guys, if you're a Warren Moon fan, you should check it out. Talk about books. So you have your book, Compassionate Capitalism. A bunch of people have been asking what advice or what books do you recommend people to read, either to learn about getting investment or just as an entrepreneur. Anything you've read that you recommend passing on?
Yeah, some really great books. Number one book that's in my library is Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Every time I read that, I felt like I made more and more money. Anytime I feel like I'm in a slump or my energy is shifting, I read Think and Grow Rich. There's also a book called Surrender Experiment that I really like. It's about getting out of your own way, surrendering. I think Outliers is a great book because I believe in repetition. If you focus in on something every day and repeat it, it affects your physical conscious, your subconscious mind, which creates neural pathways, but it also shifts your energy. So those are three of my favorite books. And then, of course, read Connected to Goodness, which is my first book that has some systematic ways to manifest everything you want.
Very cool. I hadn't heard of Surrender Experiment, so I'm gonna add that to my reading list too. Dave, it's crazy how quickly half an hour flies by. We've got tons of people still asking questions, wanting to learn more. Final message, final thoughts, one last thing you want to share with my audience as a takeaway message, like this is what I learned from Dave today to spark my week.
For me, there's two things. One, be more interested than interesting as an entrepreneur. Be more interested than interesting. And then secondly, be kind to your future self. And what that means is leave every person, place, or thing that you meet better. Know that somehow it's all going to come back to you if you are kind to your future self, if you're kind, helpful, and of service. And so those two things are two simple ways to be more interested than interesting and be kind to your future self. Those takeaways will change not only your business, but your life.
If you want 10 more amazing rules from Dave Meltzer, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Do you push the boulder all the way up the hill all day long and wake up tomorrow morning and it's at the bottom of the hill? You know your why, you got to learn your what. So I went ahead and I changed around my priorities